Can you confidently handle the worst possible collapse in cravat? Today I'm going to teach you everything you need to know. Ready? Here we go.
Yeah.
I'm paragliding!
See ya.
What's up, guys? This is Ari in the Air. Welcome back to the channel. Stoked you're here. I'm stoked to be here after a long hiatus. I've been over on Instagram building a business and launching the first ever paragliding men's group. It's been incredible. Make sure you follow me there if you don't already. But today I want to teach you something that's so incredibly important, especially for cross-country pilots. It's how to actually deal with a big collapse that cravats. So let's get into it. This is a video of my friend Matt Henzi. He's one of America's best cross-country pilots and competition pilots. He's also a really good SIV instructor. I highly recommend him. And he and I both share this, I would say, opinion that is rule number one here. And this is that you never let the glider turn you. Lights changing in here. Okay, so this is a really important rule. Like I said, don't let the glider turn you. So how that's going to look, let's watch Henzi here. I'm not sure exactly where this is. This looks like America though. He's flying along on his Enzo 3 and he takes a gigantic collapse that he tried to catch with the rear riser, but it doesn't. And then as it cravats, you can hear him under his breath say, fuck, because looking at this glider right here, you can see that, 10% of the glider is wrapped around the center A on one side. So if you're in this configuration, you pull on this, like, look at the left lines here. There's so much spaghetti going on because everything is slack and tangled. So the glider shoots out and is kind of leading edge down here. And then you can see the trailing edge. Pay attention to the trailing edge. Since you can't see the pilot's hands, then you're going to have to discern what he's doing based on the deformation of the trailing edge. So as we play forward here, you can see that the glider is already turning left, turning. Glider flies back into a stall aggressively into a stable tail slide. Henzi's blinded by the tail of his submarine and he reinflates the glider perfectly. So let's just caveat this by saying you're watching someone who has probably 5,000 flight hours, thousands of which under an Enzo, and he's a ninja, to say the very least. So he gets right back into the thermal. So let's play it again. So the collapse is not the important part, but look, already you can see that the right wingtip here is already kind of stalling. He's pulling the right brake really hard, which he gives it a second, right? Because it actually pulls the glider to the right. So he gives it a second so that he can come back under it. As he comes back under it, look at the deformation of the glider on the right, the trailing edge. You can see he's already pulling quite a bit of brake. The wingtip is curled back. As the glider kind of shoots, he relents a little bit. And as he comes underneath the glider starts to accelerate hard to the left. So he starts pulling more brake, glider stalls, shoots back into tail slide. Okay. So what's important here is that you realize that if you take a huge collapse and you have a cravat, it is going to want to auto rotate in that direction. In that instance, the most important rule is that you don't let the glider turn you, which means that you're going to use outside weight shift, outside brake. And if the glider continues to turn in the direction of the auto rotation, you're going to continue to brake. If it continues to turn, you continue to brake. And you say, well, Ari, at some point, the glider is going to stall. Yes, it is. The only way to clear a cravat that is so big that the glider has wingtip wrapped around the inside A is going to be for the glider to fly backwards. And as you can see in the video here, let's go scroll it back just a little bit. The moment that the glider stalls, the right wingtip accelerates backwards look at how that wingtip just clears out automatically. Boom. Okay, so now the glider is going backwards. The wind is coming from behind the lines here. It pushes the glider away from the lines, and he masterfully reinflates the glider, even with his submarine fairing wrapped around his head. Okay, that's practice, 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 practice. So, if you have a cravat like this, the only way that's going to come out is by the glider flying backwards. There's no way to pump that out, because imagine if you grab that left brake and you pull on it, there's no tension on it whatsoever because the whole thing is spaghettied. There's just no brake pressure. You would have to wrap and wrap and wrap and wrap, and it still wouldn't really do anything. The whole glider is going to have to fly backwards even momentarily. So a deep stall sometimes works for this, but a cravat as significant as the one that we're looking at here, there's really no way that that's going to come out unless the glider flies backwards. And look, it only has to fly backwards for an instant. And then you're into a tail slide configuration and you need to reinflate the glider. So obviously, this is a masterful execution that we're looking at here. And it is possible for you to get in over your head and have a huge collapse, and you're not really great at stalling the glider. But I think that you're better off stalling the glider and then mishandling the stall and having it shoot really hard and collapse again than you are letting the glider auto-rotate and trying to throw a reserve, trying to throw a second reserve, yada, yada, yada. It's really the nightmare that you want to avoid with collapses is auto-rotation. And so that's why the rule that I'm insisting is the most important one for you is don't let the glider turn you. Outside weight shift, outside brake. If it continues to turn, then you continue to brake. If it continues to turn, you continue to brake. At some point, the glider will stall. That's what's going to clear your cravat even, like in the first place. And then being able to reinflate the glider and fly away, keeping your head on straight, as Henzi does right here, turning right back into the thermal, getting right back onto his XC flight, even though this will spike your heart rate and your blood pressure. And like Henzi, you'll probably say fuck under your breath. That's all to be expected. But whether or not you have the muscle memory to not let the glider turn you, where you know that is the absolute rule and that you're better off stalling the glider than letting it auto-rotate. The more power you let the auto-rotation get, the harder it is going to be for you to stall the glider. And there is a certain configuration that once the glider is nose down, auto-rotating, big, G'd up spiral, especially on something like this on the Enzo, it can be almost impossible for you to pull enough on the outside brake to get it to stall. So you really don't want to allow the glider to go into that configuration. Don't let the glider turn you. Don't let the glider turn you. Don't let the glider turn you. That is the absolute rule of dealing with cravats. I hope this is useful. And I hope that you go to SIV as a means to practice this and to build this into your paragliding practice so that this is not just a hypothetical idea that Ari in the Air told you on the internet, but rather something that your muscles and your bones know. It's going to be much more important. So I hope this is helpful. If you want to go to one of Henzi's SIVs, I'll put a link in the description below, and stay tuned for more paragliding and life content for me. I'm back here on YouTube. Stoked to be here. Thanks so much. We'll see you soon.